Hi there, Alan Adler here from Digital Bridge Partners, and we are super excited to be here for Ecosystem Week. And I'm going to be talking about how to unpack and activate your go-to-ecosystem strategy. And let's jump right in. Let's jump right in, starting with this, which cool graphic. I think it's what TF, but it could also be where TF. I'm going to talk a little bit about why TF, but before I do that, let me do two things. First of all, let me make myself small. And secondly, let me quickly introduce myself. Alan Adler, I am the managing partner of Digital Bridge Partners, the chief ecosystem officer of Double CEO at Digital Bridge, and the inventor of the GoToEcosystem framework. I'm also the chair of the Ecosystem Council at Partner Hacker and an executive member of Partnership Leaders. Okay, but you didn't come for my introduction. You came for the stuff. WTF? Why ecosystems? I'm going to talk about three things after I sort of speak a little bit about why ecosystem. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the formula for building your plan. Secondly, the formula for driving alignment. And third, the formula for getting tactical and specific. Let us jump in. Many of you followed GoToEcosystem, and it's sort of born around the idea that we need a new go-to-market paradigm because ecosystems and all of the reasons they're important must be understood as we go to market because we can't do it the way we used to do it. And as I thought about, what's really changed in the marketplace and what the calls to action are for ecosystems to transform markets and to transform B2B SaaS, that's what they need to do, transforming markets and transform B2B SaaS. There's really three calls to action. And they're all going to be familiar, but they're a little different than we've talked about before. The first call to action is that we must have solution interoperability to give our customers what they want. Our customers are dissatisfied with parts. It's as if we are trying to build cars and buy cars by going to the auto parts store, assembling all the parts, bringing them home and saying, what WTF? What our customers want is end-to-end solutions. They want complete answers to their problems. If we have a B2B SaaS part, it's a part of the solution, the wheels on a car, the steering wheel, the drivetrain. Ultimately, customers want whole products, not the parts. So we have to have solution interoperability. That's one of the calls to action for the ecosystem, the absolute need for solution interoperability. The second call to action is the criticality of attaching partners to all aspects of our business, our products, and our customer lifecycle, all of those. So gone are the days where partners live on an island and we run around looking for sourced revenue and hope that's good. That doesn't work anymore. Now partners need to be attached to everything. They need to be attached at the very front end to drive that solution interoperability. They need to be attached all the way through the marketing, the selling, and the customer success patterns of the customer lifecycle. And they need to be attached to the entire business, which means that every part of the organization needs to live and breathe partners. Marketing, product, sales, customer success. Not only do the partners need to be attached to their activities, but they need to be attached to their strategies. They need to be attached to their KPIs, to their business processes, to the way they operate. So that's the second call to action for the ecosystem, is to drive partner attach everywhere. And the third call to action for the ecosystem is the criticality of building sustainable networks. We all know that competitive advantage has been eroded. And now the life cycle of a technology all by itself is relatively short, and we're one innovation away from disruption. So the only real way to build sustainability is to build ecosystems built on the trust that is the new data, as Partner Hacker likes to talk about, and as the only way to really survive and thrive, not only with respect to our own competitive advantage itself, but the fact that sustainable networks give us the tools from which to solve and address societal problems. So these are the three calls to action: interoperability, attach, and sustainability. So now we can talk a little bit about what it means to actually manifest this. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about how those three drivers explain the difference of the go-to-market mindset versus the go-to-ecosystem mindset. So in the go-to-market mindset, which has basically existed since time immemorial, we created solutions in silos. We had our four walls. Inside the four walls were our solutions. We went to market directly because it was us and customer. Everything in the middle, what we market, sell, and deliver through, were just stovepipes that things pass through. What happens in the go-to-ecosystem mindset is everything begins with co-innovation to create end-to-end solutions. We stop thinking about ourselves as an island with four walls, all isolated and separate from everybody else. And we realize that we live in the middle of the market and we connect ourselves to that market. And by connecting ourselves to that market, we then have the value and imperative to attach partners to every stage of the business. And that is what creates these sustainable ecosystem flywheels. So again, solution interoperability, partner attach, and sustainability drive us to that new mindset, which ultimately produces those sustainable economic flywheels. And now we can begin to talk about what it means to run a business on this basis. And let's talk about the crawl, walk, run as the first foundation of that. So we like to say that the GoToEcosystem transformation is all about delivering on the ecosystem business North Star. So in this graphic, this 2x2 graphic, which you've probably seen because I put it everywhere, there's basically two dimensions. The vertical dimension talks about how we need to embed partnering into everything that we do. That's the foundation of partner attach, if you will. It's the ability to move partners from being an island, where we just have a partner business, to being an ecosystem business, where we actually align the partners to everything, to the business, to the customer life cycle, to the product life cycle. And when we earn the right to have our partners attached everywhere, we can start to focus on creating the network effects, which is the horizontal axis, as we move from making products that deliver features to an ICP to creating network effects around the notion of multi-sided marketplaces. So as those attached partner programs start to produce more and more partners attracted to more and more customers get attracted to more and more partners, and we add in communities, and we have a three-way flywheel that begins to drive phenomenal atomic networks, which then drives organic growth, which then gives a sustainable advantage. And that is what it means to be an ecosystem business. So it's really important that we learn to evangelize ecosystem businesses. And if you read my stuff, I talk a lot about the foundations of evangelizing an ecosystem business, things like the percentage of your business as partner attached, the percentage of your IP spend that comes from the ecosystems, and your ability to create and track these flywheels that ultimately drive the platform business models that are the most provocative and fastest, best way to grow a business in 2022. Okay, so in order to take this big picture, which could be thought of as kind of like the fourth and embedded step on our four-stage maturity model, we need to understand that we're really in kind of two fundamental grooves. The first two stages, launch and prove, and the second two stages, scale and embed. It's really important to know where you are. And fundamentally, the difference between the two is on the left side, you're still earning the right to get dollars of investment because you haven't got a hard ROI. And on the right side, you've got a hard ROI and you're putting money into the machine to produce more returns. So know which side you're on, but take it a next step further. Know exactly where you are. I want to talk a little bit about these stages because it's very important to understand how these stages evolve and where you are in the stage. So I'll start with the right side because we talked a little bit about that with the ecosystem business. We call this stage the embedded stage because it's the stage when all those partner activities that I talked about on the vertical axis are all fully instantiated. So everything from the CEO owning the ecosystem business strategy and having an ecosystem chief leading it, to all of the different lines of businesses having shared KPIs, shared standard operating procedures, and all of the network effects that are produced around that horizontal axis that is produced by having those aligned programs. And then finally, having an ecosystem operations team that fully integrates ecosystem data into every organizational tech stack. This means that the marketing department has, say, automated account mapping built into its ABMs. The sales organization, through outreach and through Clary and through all these different sales tools, are integrating integrating partner attach information vis-a-vis overlap data from Crossbeam and Reveal. The customer success team is able to determine where and how to drive cross-sells and upsells with partner integrations, and their respective tech stacks are fully embedded. So whether you're in sales, marketing, tech support, customer support, or product, you've got that full embedded quality going on. And that's really what an embedded stage of the crawl, walk, run strategy looks like, our maturity model. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. In the launch stage, you've heard us talk about the fact that you always start with tech partners because the only way we're going to really build the ecosystem is to drive that solution interoperability. And the only way to do that is to have tech partners with whom we drive integrations. So the most important thing in the launch stage, after you've got your crawl, walk, run strategy built, is to begin with a subset of beachhead tech partners drive priority integrations and get validated customer references from those integrations. You leave the launch stage when you've kind of got that solution interoperability built at least partially for a subset of your tech partners. Why that's important is because now you have a customer saying this thing works. You're not selling parts anymore, you're selling whole solutions. So as you move into the proof stage, your job at this point is to begin to move from validating to making money. Now we're actually working with sales and then marketing to test the use cases that we got from the launch stage in actual sales and marketing motions. We're aligning with those organizations to begin the process of ultimately embedding, but at the beginning piloting how these organizations are going to work with us. And then once we have a hard ROI from having established the value props, having built the messaging, and having engaged these teams, and we can show that we can make money, now we can build our MVP ecosystem program, again around tech partners, and move into the third stage, which is how to make this bigger, faster, and better by putting more money into a machine that has a validated ROI. Here we expand beyond the tech partner program. We get into system integrators, we get into managed service providers, agencies, what have you. Again, parenthetical, it's not to say that you don't want to do any of that stuff beforehand, but if you don't have your tech partner program fully mature when you move into scale, you're going to be episodic and you're not going to be able to take advantage of the embedded stages, and you certainly won't be an ecosystem business. And so what you have to do in the scale stage ultimately is to begin to move from bunches of different segments, if you will, to the ability to actually now move into true ecosystem solutions. That's where we take the solution interoperability that we had before, and we begin to sell and market those integrated solutions with the partners that we've already validated that we can make money with. And then that leads us to harden and strengthen our cross-functional processes and to enhance the ecotech tech stack, partner tech stack, leading to connection with product marketing, sales, and customer success tech stack, and really pull off the beginning of that embedded stage. So that's a quick tour through the maturity model to give you an orientation around how this stuff works as it relates to the 4 stages. And again, you've got 3 jobs. Where are you? What do you need to do to complete your current stage? And what does it look like when you move from walk and into run? Awesome. Okay, so that's the first formula. Build your crawl, walk, run strategy. The second success formula is to drive alignment. Now, I had a big old presentation at Supernode all about this. So if anyone's interested in getting my Supernode slides, I'd be happy to send them to you. We go into detail about all of the different organizations that we need to drive alignment with. So you're the partnership leader. Your job is really kind of a big job. As my friend Mike Stocker likes to say, partnership building is a double bridge business. You got to build a bridge to the partner, but you also have to build a bridge back to your organization. And the bridge back to your organization runs through these 5 groups: the CEO and the C-suite, your product leadership, your marketing leadership, your sales leadership, and your customer success leadership, and everybody who works for those organizations. So we got a really big job. That's why it's not lost on us that Chief Ecosystem Officer is got the same letters as CEO, because there is no other job that has as much cross-functional, cross-business activity and that is as matrixed as a Chief Ecosystem Chief. We probably won't get to be called Chief Ecosystem Officers. It would get conflictual, but we could certainly be Ecosystem Chief. So partner leader, future Ecosystem Chief, go make it happen with each of these 5 groups, and I'll give you a little orientation on how to do that. So CEOs, what do they think about? What do they care about? I mean, these first 3 things are really the most important. They care about their growth, your valuation and your ROI, how much return on investment you're getting from capital spend. How do we keep and find talent? Innovation, speed, and advantage is really important, and purpose and sustainability. Now, you really look at these for a second and you think, why don't CEOs get this? That is, that they should go to ecosystem as a top priority right now, because those of us that live in Partnerville know that partners do all of these things exceptionally well. Well, unfortunately, they don't. In spite of what Accenture said 4 years ago, that 76% of CEOs think that ecosystems are the reason business models are going to get reinvented. If they in fact do think that, they're not taking the action needed, and that's because we haven't done our job yet to evangelize how important it is to become an ecosystem business. So the beginnings of this process, the discussions we should have, is to really plant that seed of what ecosystems can become. You should be practicing with as many people as you can the story of what it looks like in your organization to become an ecosystem business. Now, again, that was part of our crawl, walk, run, but this is where it becomes really real because you have to actually start with this conversation. You said, today we're a partner business with fragmentation both on the vertical axis of the way that our programs are aligned and a product business without a network. Here's what it's going to look like as we move to that upper right-hand corner. And you want to propose ultimately that this is going to be one of your CEO's top imperatives. And if they don't already know that, you're telling them. And again, of course, now it's going to be incumbent upon you to say how. So you begin by talking about your crawl, walk, run. What is your plan for the next 2 years? How are you going to show him the maturity stage or her the maturity stage, show her where we are on that maturity stage, and show her what kind of resources we're going to need in order to move to that next level and what we're going to get back as a result of doing that. That's all about the plan. But then you also need to show that the granularity of dollars invested in partners yields $10, $20, $30 invested in terms of return. So we need to talk a little bit more about how we get to that hard ROI. If you already have it, then you're basically going to be rinsing and repeating it, improving that ROI for tech partners, for communities, for your channel partners, for your system integrators, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the CEO conversation. Make sure they understand what an ecosystem business looks like. Make sure they are aware of the fact that you've got a 2-year plan, that you know the resources are going to need, and that you're really working hard to prove that ROI. And in fact, you should tell him or her what your leading indicators are going to be for the next 3, 6, 30, 60, 90 days so you can come back and report and build credibility on that. Okay, that's the CEO. So our product organization. Now, product is probably the next hardest group to move, mostly because product has, by design, been focused on four-wall thinking. Everything about product is back to that old mindset of we build it in a silo. So when they think innovation and they think process and they think portfolio and they think resources, they're really thinking about how that's going to help them with their product. So one of the very first things we need to do with the product organization is evangelize solution interoperability, as if we need to. It needs to be a high priority for the product team to understand that becoming solution interoperable and building end-to-end solutions is table stakes for a CPO. A chief product officer that's not leading with that is looking in the rearview mirror. So all of this then begins to now bring us back to where we're at, which is, for example, if we don't have that hard ROI, we're beginning to prove the value of the integrations. How can tech partners help start that integration process in a meaningful way? How can product organize around integrations? If product is not already talking to embedded iPaaS companies or marketplaces as a service companies like Tray.io, like Pandium, they should be, because these organizations can help guide the conversation. And maybe you start by making sure you've got your story right about how that integration value proposition, how the elimination of tech debt with integrations can result in a phenomenally more efficient integration strategy. And most importantly, how we can begin to drive solutions that other companies pay for. So if you think about what an ecosystem business is from a product leader perspective, it's about moving the tech spend, the dev spend, out of our four walls and into somebody else's four walls and creating a force multiplier and a return on investment. That's a phenomenal story for a product organization. And ultimately, those same ecosystem solutions are the driving force behind PLG, product-led growth, which is the coolest thing for product organizations since sliced bread. And ultimately, this helps us to articulate to the product organization why they need to move from building roadmaps for products to roadmaps for ecosystems and products, which drives the entire flywheel of thinking, resource allocation, integration strategy, monetization, and all of the different dimensions of how we go to market, from product to marketing to sales to customer success and then back to product. So that's our product organization. Our marketing organization ultimately is concerned about brand value, about differentiation, and very importantly, the pressure that's been placed on marketing organizations to increase marketing qualified leads and conversion and to lower the cost. We're in a bit of a world of hurt right now for direct because cookies are gone, costs are going up, and it's becoming more and more difficult to manage influence. Most marketing organizations realize that demand generation happens in dark social through thought leadership. It doesn't happen through paid ads. And yet the only thing they can really attribute things to is paid ads and paid social. They can't attribute that much to dark social. So they're looking to figure out how they're going to solve these problems and how partners help in such a big way. The first thing I think we can talk a little bit about is the fact that this whole notion of building influence and galvanizing marketing spend is one of the biggest prizes that partners can bring. Partners are uniquely able to double and triple or quadruple the amount of money that we can spend on marketing and double, quadruple the amount of influence that we can get. And even more important, from an activation and maturity perspective and from a solutioning point of view, partners give us the ability to actually attribute value to and create attribution associated with influence, which is quite hard to do. If an account is driving influence, you can actually track it. If an individual is driving influence away from an account, it's quite hard to track, and partners are accounts. So the ability to actually track that influence, gather dollars from that influence, drive thought leadership from that influence, and create that, what I often call the 4x marketing ROI, twice the spend, twice the influence, 4x the return on investment, is really there for marketing. So as we move to sales, this one's really pretty straightforward. I like to say to CROs, how would you like to be able to increase your quota attainment by 50% without hiring a single sales rep? The answer, partner attach. Why? Because not only do partners drive a lot of net new revenue from referrals from existing partners, but partners double the deal size, have the sales cycle, and reduce the sales cost by 50%. And when you can do that, which is another 4x, right? You have a no-brainer. However, the challenge really lies in the fact that most of these sales organizations do not understand how partners help with co-selling and how partners help across the life cycle. So going back to that crawl, walk, run, based on where you're at, sell your current state. So maybe your current state to the sales organization is piloting. Maybe it's piloting a few use cases for a few tech partners. Or maybe now you've got that pilot ready and you're ready to move from the ability to drive partner referrals to actual true co-selling and co-marketing, which are harder to do, but you get there. But it's all about the ability to leverage tools like automated account mapping, tying into our CRMs, or account-based networking, which let our AEs talk to each other. And finally, landing the value of partner attach for the CRO. So if your CRO does not make partner attach a top OKR within 12 months after you start your partner job, you've probably not done your job. Because as soon as they figure out the power of partner attach, 1%, creating tens, 50, hundreds of thousands of dollars of net ACV without adding a single sales rep, any CRO who doesn't go to a CFO and say, partner attach is the way it's going to happen, should also be looking for another job. Okay, and customer success. There is no better data point for why tech partners help companies become ecosystem businesses than the ability to increase customer satisfaction, both by reducing churn and by building the trust and roadmaps that are necessary to help customer success become advocates and drive LTV. There probably isn't a better place to start. And it's interesting that it's actually one of the weakest areas for alignment. So highest opportunity, lowest level of alignment, therefore highest opportunity. So go after your customer success stream, take your crawl, walk, run program to them. In fact, if you're at the launch stage, you should be working with your customer success team right after your product team to drive those integrations into joint customers and get proof points. Because those two teams, product and customer success, actually should lead the conversation before sales and marketing in the prove stage. Most companies get this backwards, and they think that the job is to go out there and find net new revenue. And so they point the partner team at the sales organization and say, bring leads. But if you haven't created value through integrations and you haven't proven those integrations through customer success, you have no value to add to the sales organization, no value to add to the partner. And that's why most partner teams end up underperforming from a return on investment, because they go in the wrong order. So customer success is one of those first to talk to, not last to talk to, even though you might think canonically on the funnel, they happen after close one. But everything's a cycle in the SaaS business. And so product at the top, customer success at the bottom, those are first, then sales, then marketing. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of a quick overview about what it is that these organizations care about and the kinds of conversations you're going to have. But again, you've got to have your crawl, walk, run. You've got to have your story in order for you to get specific. And now we move into the last section of my presentation, which is how to get tactical. Success formula number 3. So I'm going to try to tie it all together for you here, because one of the things that we did recently is launch our framework for understanding how co-selling works. So for those of you who have not seen the now famous Venn diagram 3x3 matrix from Crossbeam, I'll just walk you through it really quickly. It's 9 boxes. You only see 4 stages here. I'll explain why. But basically, the 9 boxes are composed by the intersection of your accounts, be they your customers, your opportunities, or your prospects, and your partners' accounts, be they their customers, their opportunities, and their prospects. And every intersection has a different sort of scenario. So you remember I talked about launch and prove, and I said the very first thing you want to do in launch is work with your product organization to drive integrations, and then work with your customer success team to ultimately deploy those integrations. Well, that's stage one. Stage one is when both of us have a customer, both us and our partner have a customer, and we want to deploy that integration. You notice we're not talking to sales, we're not talking to marketing, we're talking to customer success to go out there and get us a proof point. Once we have a proof point, once we've actually got a customer standing up saying, hooray, this is a great end-to-end solution, solution interoperability, check. Now we can start doing partner attach. Remember that second CTA, right? And how we do that is we stay with the customer success team and we have our partners' customers give referrals to our team. Now, in this case, it's a customer success path for the partner. It's going to lead to our sales team, but it's still a customer success path that drives us into a mono sale. So that's why it becomes your sale. It's one sale. Conversely, when your customer success team down here brings a opportunity or a prospect that is on the partner side, a warm lead, it becomes a partner sale. And these orange boxes are the starting point for prove. Because if you can prove that you can create this value, not only do you lift the boats with customer success, but you get net new revenues, and now you have earned the right to continue to invest. But before we leave prove, because we're still kind of at that beginning of prove, we want to move into stage 3, where we talk about now going after customers, scenarios where neither of us have a customer. We either both have an opportunity, or one of us has an opportunity, either a prospect, or both of us have prospects. These 3 boxes are all joint sales motion. This is a joint marketing motion that leads to a joint sales motion. So this important tour is really critical because in order to get tactical and get strategic and look at a 30, 60, 90-day plan, we have to know where we are. So I'm going to take you through an example. Let's say that you have built some integrations and you've got your crawl, walk, run plan and you've talked with your organization. So you've pretty much got, formula number 1, crawl, walk, run, formula number 2, you've begun the alignment process, and now you're at the 3rd stage, which is operationalizing this whole thing. And you've got a couple of integrations. If you don't have some integrations, you're going to need different steps. So I'm making the assumption that that we've got the beginning of stage 1. Actually, stage 0 is where you actually look to pick the partners you want before you even go to anybody. And that's where you use Crossbeam or Reveal to give you your overlaps and do your business case, and we can talk all about that. But ultimately, you're going to see that coming back here in the first 30 days. So in the first 30 days, again, you've got some integrations. The first thing you want to do is prioritize them. It's not uncommon, we find with our clients, that many times we've had a bunch of integrations that have been built because our customers have asked for them, and we've been smart about it, and we've built them. But they're not necessarily prioritized as to which ones have the highest go-to-market opportunities, which one we should go to ecosystem with, which ones we shouldn't. So we should go through a prioritization formula to determine who gets to be the first beachhead partners with whom we're going to go to the monetization stage with. Then you create GoToEcosystem business cases. DM me on this if you want to see how this works. But basically, it's the rationalization for what we're going to get by deploying the integrations we've got, and what we're going to get by going to ecosystem and driving stage 2, 3, and 4 in that last matrix I showed you. After we've got a business case, then we want to align with our prioritized partners. Because ultimately, in order for this whole GoToEcosystem things to work and these stages to evolve, both of us have to be engaging in some form of reciprocity. So if our PAM and the partner's PAM are not aligned, we got a problem. We all then need to align with our and our partner's CS team, because again, this is a scenario where we're in stage 1, and really you're going to need both CS teams or one CS team to act in accordance with a integration adoption plan that we use to close off the first 30 days. So you've got a lot of work to do in those first 30 days. You finish this by having an aligned joint integration adoption plan that's aligned between you and the partner, aligned between you and the partner's customer success teams, etc. Then we move into the next 60 days where we kick off that pilot for the integration adoption with one or both CS teams. Remember, in stages One, since we have a joint customer, we should decide which of us should go after that customer, or both of us. But there needs to be an orchestrated cadence about how we're going to do that how we're going to do that process. And as we build the prioritized adoption plan, we need to make sure our stories are in place. We've got our bill of materials, we've got our hypothesized use cases, etc. So I'm skipping over a number of things that are inside these plans because I want you to be able to read the slide. So what we got to have though is we've got to have a dashboard that tells us how many customers we're going to contact, how many integrations we're planning to deploy, how many references we're going to get, hint, hint, at least 2 for every integration, and how we're going to ultimately drive feedback. Bear in mind that a lot of this work, as we talk about a course correction, is really about hypothesis testing. We are hypothesizing that there are these use cases that are going to work. We want to make sure they're right. We're hypothesizing we got the integration right. We want to make sure that worked. So as we move into the last 90 plus day period, we're going to be collecting this feedback to validate that we were right. Did we have the right integration experience? If not, let's fix it. Did we collect feedback on our use cases? If we didn't get them right, let's modify them. Can we identify and secure these customer references? Because ultimately our goal is to move into that next stage. And can we build a bill of materials that will let us go back to our respective organizations on stage 2 and ultimately begin to crush it in our GoToEcosystem? So thank you so much for being with me. I hope you found value in understanding why ecosystems, the success formula of crawl, walk, run, the success formula of alignment, and the success formula of driving a tactical plan. Go out there and crush it with your GoToEcosystem, and can't wait to see you next time.